I wonder if a soul has a lesson plan and there was a code for this life for him.
This would be a year that is all about money, 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 money.
In astrology, that would maybe correlate a bit to having planets in detriment.
Pete
Mhm.
Hegseth is a dog that barks that has no bite.
So, but it's still the same term time. It's 2 more years left, kind of thing.
I don't think this is going to survive the summer. What is your karma? Have you done good in this world?
Lunatic astrology.
In this video today, we are talking with a master Chinese astrologer, Lydia Griffith, and what she reveals about world leaders will blow your mind. It's something big. It's eye-opening. We're going to dive into how Bazi Chinese astrology uncovers the unseen patterns influencing our lives, world events, and even the rise and fall of powerful figures. We're going to be focusing on a luck cycle the United States will be entering into in 2027, Donald Trump's penalty period, and time of great hardship over the next few months using the Bazi astrology wisdom, as well as the curious situation of J.D. Vance and whether or not he has what it takes to move into a position of power. This was such a fun interview to do. If you want to learn all about Bazi astrology and what Lydia is up to, of course, all of her information is in the description box below. Let's let this beautiful expert astrologer tell us more. Let's get going with this show. If you like it, don't forget to subscribe to her channel as well as mine. Thanks, guys, and we'll get started with Lunatic Astrology, Lori Lothian, and Bazi astrology guest astrologer Lydia. I'm recording this with Lydia on April the 14th. The world is in a very challenging place, and we'll see what the astrologer of the Chinese Bazi tradition, Lydia, has to say about some of the things we're going through. So Lydia and I are here today to talk with you guys about a different kind of astrology and what it might say to us about our view of the world at a time in which there's a lot of intensity, war, and conflict, and particularly certain leaders involved. And finally, we've gotten together. We've been trying to do this for a year. Welcome, Lydia.
Thank you so much, Lori. It's a pleasure to be with you.
It is with you as well. Can you tell us a bit about what Bazi astrology is, how you became an expert in it before we talk about maybe some Trump and Vance material, because we have a birth time for them.
Absolutely.
Tell us about this kind of
Yes.
astrology. I'm so curious.
So Bazi Chinese astrology is also called four pillars, and it's just like acupuncture and Chinese medicine, it's based on the five elements. And the 12 Chinese horoscope animals. I always catch myself saying zodiac because we automatically think of the sky. Um, and when we're looking at the four pillars of somebody's chart, we have the year, the month, the day, and the hour. And each one of those represents a part of your life. So, like the hour is your career, and the day you're born is your everything. Your everything. Your whole chart is divine from that pillar. And the month is your parents, your elder siblings, and you're the first beginning of your life. And then the year is, I always call it your umbrella. It's also your ancestral cords. Actually, this year I started doing more, not just our elders in this life, but just that entire cord and the story there. And I love the way that I call it the landscape of the four pillars really tells the story of your life. And I feel like at my core, as a writer and as an artist, I love the storytelling component of a chart. Um, so it was probably, well, I studied with Dr. Paul Yan back in the days of when we were using telephones. So that was 2002. It's a long time ago. And he taught Bazi astrology as a necessary component to learning Feng Shui, which was what I had really gone to study with him. But he said you can't read a house unless you're reading the people that live in that house. And
Mm.
so I really look at your Bazi astrology as acupuncture for your life. So we make these subtle shifts and changes in our life to open up the chi, to open up possibility, to maybe reroute ourselves from a giant hole that's right in front of us. If only we knew. And then when I think of feng shui, I think of that as acupuncture for your home. And in a similar way, you make subtle shifts and changes that can be as subtle as changing pillows and the colors of pillows on a couch or a piece of art or a rug. And those things are literally like an acupuncture needle that are shifting the chi in the home.
Oh,
So I
that's beautiful. I love the analogy with acupuncture for this. This is gorgeous.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. And I mean, I've seen this play out with all of my clients. And, thanks to YouTube, as you well know, our clientele is worldwide now. So I just divined a chart for someone in Sweden, for instance. It's like I love the interconnectedness of astrology and these platforms that allow us to all connect and share this information so that we can better understand our story.
So
So.
when we talk about Bazi astrology, it's like what we all know collectively when we say, "Oh, it's the year of the fire horse," right?
Hmm.
That's the year. So it's like if my grandchild is going to be born this year in August, and the year of the fire, my first one, the year of the fire horse. But then embedded within that one pillar is the hour and the day and the month. So then
Hmm.
there's subdivisions of reality defining career and everything else. So is it therefore, just so I understand it, if someone is born this year in the calendar year, February of this year, next year, the year of the fire horse, that means that those other little details become subsets of their whole story. But are they also like, okay, I'm a year of the fire horse with a month of the tiger and an hour of the snake? Is it like,
Yes. So that's a very great piece there because I call it the barnyard. So, sometimes the barnyard and your chart get along great, and sometimes they don't. And that's where I can see in a person where they might self-sabotage themselves, where they might be in internal battle in their life. These are all karmic expressions of why we're here. Why are you living that story of your life? What is that story about? And the more that we come to understand it, we can come to peace with the fact. Like, for instance, pops into my brain Pam Bondi, who's someone born in the year of a snake, day of a pig. They are enemies. Okay. And as they are enemies of each other, it's interesting to see that she became somebody that works in law. So it's as if she took her, what is it? You took the poison and made it your medicine or whatever. It's kind of like, you see people who sometimes take something that's a wound and they turn it into their superpower. So
mm,
like, for instance, maybe they become a doctor, right? Somebody that would have, for instance, like a tiger and a monkey, and the tiger is yang wood and the monkey is yang metal, and they cut at each other like that person might cut themselves down, in the way that they think about themselves, and they might turn that into something where they use that in a positive way as a surgeon, right? You can
oh, I
think of it
see.
kind of like that,
Well,
right?
in astrology, that would maybe correlate a bit to having planets in detriment, exile or fall. And you've got like a tool, like the planet's in a difficult situation and you have to work with what you got. But when you talked about Pam Bondi and you said, like, okay, the pig and then the snake's her year. So she's a part of a larger group of people who are all under the snake energy. We just had the year of a snake, didn't we? It was behind us last year in 25. What was snake, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, so I wanted to get the idea here. So we have a year of the snake behind us. She's a year of the snake, even without the worrying about the element. She's back in her element, whether she's earth, air, water, fire snake. So she's a
Hmm.
snake, and then she's on the hot seat all last year and this year, like on the hot seat, like right about a lot of stuff. But where is the pig in her? Is that her hour?
That's her day.
That's her day. And what does
So
the day represent for a person?
So for that, your day is your everything. That is expressly who you are. And the
Oh,
element that sits atop that is your element. And we all have one of the five elements in yin or yang expression, right? The thing that's so unique about this year of the fire horse is we have both expressions of fire. So we have yang fire sitting up there, big, like the sun. And then the horse is yin fire, um, with a little bit of yin earth. So what that means is, like, for instance, Lori, let's say you're born like me and on a day that is a water expression. I'm yin water, maybe you're yang water. But this would be a year that is all about money. Money, money, money. What are you manifesting? What are you creating? And it's that year when whatever you've been working on suddenly hits. Boom, you're getting the reward for your efforts. Whereas, if let's say you're somebody that's a wood person, fire is what you feed. It's your child. It's it's not your work. It's your creative expression, your motivation. And for
Mm.
wood people especially, depending on how much of your element you have in those four pillars, because some people are strong, excessively strong, like President Trump and JD Vance, and then some people are expressly weak. And sometimes you're surprised by who those people are because they come off being really big. Um, but the risk for wood people, particularly, is burnout because this fire is screaming like a baby bird that cannot get enough worms all year long.
So if
Feed
you
me.
know that you have a like you're born in the year of the wood something or other, the
No,
wood,
no, it's your
okay,
day.
it's
It's
a,
totally it's your day element.
your day
Yeah.
element. So it
Yeah.
seems to me like this is a very, not complex, but a very nuanced and very sophisticated way of understanding one's whole life from all the directions you can. And I guess, when we look at it from the perspective of like in Indian astrology, Vedic, you look for remedies for the weak spots, right? You kind of gave that almost like a
Yes.
remedy conversation, turning something hard into like, like the scalpel for the surgeon instead of like, say, homicidal mania, whatever. So,
Mhm.
okay. So I'm getting the vibe. Let's talk about some famous people. You got started with Pam. She just got fired, Pam Bondi, or,
Yes.
whatever. She wasn't doing a good enough job in her job for some reason. And so, and she's, this happened in the fire horse time frame that she got fired, I believe, after February.
Yes.
So if you were her like advisor, what would you have said to her? Oh my God, this is
Mm.
coming for you, or be careful because you are like a pig in this, part of your chart, and you're this and that. And this is like, oh, the elements. Like, would you have seen it coming and could you have warned her?
There's so much to be said. And I always say, I do a lot of political videos. I find these people truly fascinating, but I also always try to frame them as regular people, right? Like Pam Bondi could be like the cafeteria lady at the school, right?
Mhm.
Which helps you to remove any thought of who this person actually is. I do have Pam Bondi's notes here of the day that she was fired. Oh, it was a horse day, a horse year, and I'm pretty sure that she is a wood person. And again, total burnout. Just, I mean, like literally, my feeling was she gave up.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
she gave up. Literally, she is a Yinwood person. She could not keep up with the amount of fire in that particular day, in this particular year. And you also have to remember, I call it the cracks. Like President Trump has 1,000 cracks in his astrology. Um, and it really just takes that 1 hour when it all just gives way, right? And there goes the life force. So, for somebody like Pam Bondi, last year was the massive crack.
Mm.
That was the year that really was just a setup for this year. And I think that's true for many of us. Last year asked us this huge question of how deep are you ready to transform yourself, right? And then how that echoes into all aspects of your life. And then the year of the horse, if you didn't fully release, if you didn't fully come out of the cocoon,
Or like the snake shedding its skin.
you
Yes.
didn't quite do it all the way, and the horse comes in and starts dragging you. It's just you can't run fast enough.
That's a
Um,
fascinating way of seeing it.
yeah, I actually just did a video. It's a rather large one that's about the entire administration. Like I pulled some of the biggest characters as if it was like almost like a sitcom um, of like almost like The Office.
Right, right, right. Or the
It's
very
like
big barnyard called the White House.
yeah, it's a huge barnyard and it's actually fascinating. I was like, all right, who's the one that's going to get them out of like the situation room, those places that you go that have the clues and you're trying to get out.
Oh my God. Well, when you talk about the idea that there are moments in time where there are sort of cracks, or you said earlier, like the hole you could just fall into, just coming up, yet should be careful. And you talk about Donald Trump's chart having a lot of cracks. Do you mean that he's born to have a lot of cracks, or do you mean that he's in
Mhm.
a time where he has a lot of cracks?
Both, both. And when I went back to my teacher in like I think it was 2017, 2018, and I got my master's level of Bazi astrology. And one of the charts that we studied was Donald Trump, who back then was just a businessman. I guess, really looking back now, the cusp of his political career. And one of the reasons we studied it was that I remember Dr. Yan saying to me, this is a guy who's like the cat with 50,000 lives. He is
Mm.
going to forever be embroiled in lawsuits. He will lose money. He will regain money. He will always come up standing. And he has a fascinating chart. But when you add his age and his lifestyle, his diet, his incredibly stressful job, and you put all of that with the astrology, and especially, this is an extra nuance. We all go through 10-year luck cycles. I started calling them life chapters to make them a little more accessible, in our language. And this life chapter that he entered in November 2023, it's fascinating the timing. That was when there were like five lawsuits that hit him all at once, all up and down the East Coast,
Oh, I remember that.
right? And that was when he moved into a luck cycle of a Yang water tiger. And one of the things with his chart, and I talked about this a lot last year, there are these, just like you were saying, detriments and oppositions in Western astrology. He has a fire penalty in his chart that is with him for the next 10 years until 2033. Well, he will not be around for that, but um, his hour is the snake. And that is his career. And it's also where you go in your elder years. It's almost like that fourth pillar that is your time of being an elder. The snake and the tiger form a semi-fire penalty. And so last year amplified that, challenged his career, challenge. So this whole thing with the Epstein files, all of this stuff, it is this heavy, heavy thing. He's also born in the year of a fire dog and the day of a yin earth sheep. And the sheep and the dog are an earth penalty. And the earth penalty is something in which your life, um, and especially your family dynamics, which you can also expand into work environments because those are like families, is something that causes him stress that weakens his life force.
Mm.
So you have this as he is somebody that is, actually, it's funny because Pete Hegseth is born on the day of a dog. It's like, these are fighters. This has all this energy of like justice and whatnot. And really, you know, the interesting thing of being born on the day of a sheep is the sheep is the peacemaker.
And the sheep are afraid of the wolves.
And
I mean,
so, the fact that he was so obsessed with winning the Nobel Peace Prize was almost laughable that he's born on the day of a sheep. And yet, as you know, with Western astrology, there are your light attributes, right?
Yeah.
And there are your shadow. And I actually, in that video I created today, it's like every one of these people in his administration is dancing in their shadow. And
Mm.
that is not necessarily to be deemed as negative or positive. It's just the vibration of the energy in which they work and live right now is pulling them down. Actually, saying that, Marjorie Taylor Greene, unbelievable. That woman, again, all like opinion and thought aside, I think it was last November. I watched her astrology. She had a shift of consciousness and went from the shadow into her light.
Was there any indication that could happen, or was that free will?
Yes, yes. And one of the things I see with that is when somebody, for instance, I'm a yin water person. When yang water presents itself, that is not something I recognize as myself, and yet it is an element. And what it is, it's an element that is asking me to look at aspects of myself that I do not see on a day-to-day basis. I kind of call it the flip side of your coin.
Oh,
Right?
yes, that's a great way of putting it because it's going to give you that yin yang polarity in the same element.
Yeah. And so what I often say, and I see with this, and I also, JD Vance has got this going on, it's as if you are questioning your persona. On a deeper level, it's who am I? The
Mm,
deeper, spiritual lens of that is a beautiful moment for self-reflection, for a self-reclamation, possibly an identity crisis, but again, I like to spin it positive.
yeah,
But
yeah.
a lot of times with these political figures, you see that shift as a change in position. You're putting on a new hat, you're putting on a new mask because you're trying out new roles again in figuring out what what aspects of this element really do I align with?
Mhm.
Where am I with me? Such a fascinating thing.
Yeah, it reminds me of so much about various aspects of astrology from the other, like from my side of the astrology wheel,
Hmm.
for example, or even Vedic astrology, for example, with Donald Trump, for example. Let's just use him on another term reference, born with his ascendant on Regulus, which is a star of greatness, right? For like fame and power and riches. And yet it comes with a clause underneath it. Beware pride and hubris and arrogance that lead to a fall. Okay. And this royal Persian star is exactly on his ascendant at birth. And it's very much evident about how his life has gone. But now we're going through a cycle which has always led to losses for him, where we have the South Node Ketu, which is about surrender, release, and let go, moving through a nakshatra, this is Vedic astrology,
Hmm.
of it's called MAGA. Of all things, it's called MAGA. When you make
Wow.
America great again, it's like we're in a cartoon. The MAGA nakshatra is
Wow.
where his ascendant is. It runs between 0 and 13 degrees of Leo in sidereal. And so if for translate that, it's like 24 degrees ish of Leo, and his ascendant is 29 to about 6 degrees of Virgo in tropical zodiac. But the point about that is that every time this happens to him, every 18 and a half years, he goes through all of this hardship where his whole business is like are sucking. And I did the research because I'm going to talk about it on another video. And he's going through that now. Like, even though he's at the peak of whatever he could accomplish, right? He's a president starting March the 29th of like just behind us until December. He's in a hugely difficult time. And it's kind of like with K2, like the North Node gives you worldly success, K2 pulls the plug on it. And yet it asks you to
Yeah.
address the shadow, because with K2, if you have been doing the work, like the introspective work to be of service, to do something for the greater good, then you'll be rewarded even as K2 transits this part of the chart. But going over his ascendant right now, it's quite possibly he may be in that peril that he wasn't doing all of the good work. And now this is like, okay, now there's a big, I don't know, what's the biggest flushing sound you've ever heard? Like it may not even be my
One of
toilet.
those airport toilets.
Yes, yes. On the airplane, especially. Yes, it's like an airplane toilet flushing sound. March 29th to December, activating his ascendant, and it's going to be challenging. There's something going on where he's in like what you would call a crack.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, the thing with him is his chart is so radically out of balance. He has a Jalbert chart, which is interesting. It's a chart where you have too much of the mother energy. So the element of fire is what feeds him as an earth person. You know, fire becomes ash. And so he is like, you know, in the pizza pie, as I call it, of the five elements, you want to have like around 20% of each one. Well, he's got almost no metal. He has no water. He's almost balanced with wood, but there's nothing feeding the wood, so it's just kind of feeble and hanging out there. His whole chart, and you see this with a lot of famous people, like Beyonce comes to mind, where their whole orbit is what supports them, what is backing them, what basically is their feeder and themselves, which, you know, for famous people is their audience, right? And then it's a very intimate, insular thing. And for like the ordinary person, you can get very lost in your world. You can get very lost in your head. It can kind of make somebody almost shut down. There's nothing motivating the self outward. But for famous people, there is something about that that is just like, it's all about me.
So, well, and what you said about his element being, no metal and he's out of balance. And if you got a lot of fire and then you got the wood, something has to feed the wood. What would feed wood? Like, what does that mean in an element?
Water.
It's like water. So
So
if he had
water.
water, it would feed the wood, right? Okay.
And water would be helpful for him. Metal and water would be helpful for him. But because we're in a fire horse year and next year is a fire sheep year, there is like, it's like he's combusting, is
Right.
what
Wood and
I.
fire is going to burn up. Burn up. Yeah. Burn
So,
up.
you know, this year I would almost actually, this is so interesting. The wood will give up this year, which is his career, because the wood cannot continue to feed a fire that is as huge as it is right now.
Mm.
Um, and also, you know, he's got this fire penalty, and the fire penalty, again, that started back in November 23, is all about being defamed, losing money, losing power, losing your marriage. Um, you know, why did Melania Trump make that announcement? What was that about? You know, there's many speculations about that.
Yeah.
But it basically, the fire penalty is one of those things that says anything and everything in your life can be lost and go wrong, including lawsuits. And I think, like you were saying, there's like that point where we reach in our astrology where it's like the space opens up and in that space, you know, what is your karma? Have you done good in this world? What is your legacy? What will you be remembered for? And and you know, when a penalty comes along, it's that moment where that what is that rubric that says, well, you've done great, so these maybe this affliction won't land on you as hard. But if you've caused great suffering to others, well, you're more likely to really pay the price now.
Oh, so the penalty periods that we can have in our lives are not like they're going to be kind of qualitatively commensurate, perhaps, with our behavior that precedes the penalty.
Absolutely. And I absolutely believe that.
But you
Absolutely.
said something that's almost got me really, it's like psycho spiritually, like thinking a lot about Donald Trump, because then when he was running on the peace platform with no war, he was really authentically expressing the sheep in his four pillars. It wasn't a ruse to get the people to vote. Do you think, I mean, he really wanted that. He just somehow he couldn't do it because he fell under, I don't know, whatever blackmail was on him or spell he was under, but he was expressing an authentic element of his four pillars.
Yeah. And so the shadow of the sheep is vulnerable, is irresponsible, gullible, and naive. And one of the
Mm.
things that I've often felt about this person is I know his family history, his childhood history. This is somebody that was bullied as a child. This is somebody that was neglected by their mother as a young child. Um, and I think, he part of that toughness and maybe why the influences that have shaped his life, the people that have shaped his life, it's almost like, in order to survive, you fall into the shadow, right? You have to put up your dukes and be tough, even though you may be actually quite soft on the inside.
I wonder if Soul has a lesson plan and there was a code for this life for him, it would have really been getting the Nobel Peace Prize and really standing by a platform that swayed so many independent voters to vote for him because he said, I'm stopping the forever wars. We're getting out of wars. And if that he had been able to keep his promise, to a real part of him that had that desire, that,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And, I caught something just before we got on about, they're going after Cuba next. So, it's a distraction.
And then it's Greenland.
Yeah. Well, it's distraction, 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 chaos, chaos, chaos. And it's kind of like it's spiraling out of control is what it feels like. And the interesting thing about Trump and Vance and a number of these other people in the administration, they all in their, I was trying to think of how to word it, in their how they are presenting themselves in this human life this time, okay? Because I know that you've covered aliens and things like that too. Um, so as an incarnating into this life, JD Vance and Trump both have, again, there is a naivete to a bunch of these people in his administration. Kristi Noem is one of them. It's like they have this naivete, almost like teenagers.
Oh my God. Oh, I don't know about Hegseth, but I keep thinking I'm in a cartoon. Like I'm in a Archie a cartoon with pow, kapow, kapoo, like I'm in like a 60s cartoon, like in the ones you read, comic books.
Yes. Yeah. And so, not Pete Hegseth. Pete
Mhm.
Hegseth is a dog that barks that has no bite. He's like
Mhm.
that pit bull that terrifies you, but you're like the closer you get to realize that it's all this vicious barking and he has no power behind it. But it's interesting that I think in order to appear that you are stronger than you actually are, there's a lot of pretense and a lot of showmanship that goes into it that I just would imagine it's got to be exhausting. Yeah.
It's got to be exhausting. It would be very, obvious, Here's the thing. JD Vance in astrology looks a lot like the prince in waiting. His chart is set up to be the
Yes.
mini me for Trump. He's also got some placements in Scorpio in his fourth house. He's also a Leo rising and Taurus midheaven. And all of that said and done, he looks like he's a replacement unit for Trump before Trump's term is over. And he also ends up with the Scorpio placements in his fourth house look very much like a lot of charts I've seen with people who end up in stealthy intelligence spycraft life directions, right? Because it's fueling his midheaven. So when you talk about him coming to such prominence so quickly, and how he was kind of went from not being a politician to being a politician for a short time to being a vice president, there's a lot of behind the scenes things that we all don't know or see quite as much as we could about where that propulsion came from. So I'd say there's secrets about how he became successful. But
Mhm.
I also think that I just had a face reader on my channel, face reader guy, and a great video. People loved it. Taylor Northcutt.
Yeah, it was great. It
Yeah.
was a
And
great video.
but he talks about the pragmatic face, right? That like at the end of the day, there's a pragmatism to kind of like the earth. He's an earth face, JD Vance, and it's very, pragmatic. Like, okay, like let's slop in there for the horses and let's do this and let's like it's earth, right? It's just what's the
Well,
pragmatic thing to do here? So I'm wondering for you in the Bazi tradition, what does he look like compared to his
so weird. He's a Yang Earth dragon.
the earth comes back again.
So he's an Earth Dragon Day. His year is a Yang Wood Rat. He also has a Yang Fire Dragon in his hour. Two dragons. That's like Putin. When you get multiple dragons, you start getting dictator kind of qualities. It's like
Mm,
somebody that, because the dragon is the only animal that's mystical, it's magical, it's not of this world.
yeah.
And they're very innovative. They're super, they're great leaders, but they also are great dreamers. They imagine. So they're really great to work with on new projects, kind of thinking very Aquarius. Um, but when you put two together, it's somebody that's it's like an abuse of power can happen. But again, he has that same adolescent, like, what's going on? I'm figuring this out. It's like you're putting the airplane together mid-flight, you know, right? And you're just kind of figuring it out as you go. And, I think that's part of the reason why there's all these misspoken words and things that he says that he doesn't realize what he's saying until it's out there.
Right. He can be very plain spoken, but sometimes you wonder if it's also like, I have some same issues with speech because of a lot of fire in my natal chart. But, it could have like the time he interrupted the Oval Office thing, remember with the Trump and Zelensky and really just blurted up like,
Yeah.
whatever's going on there. Kind of like that about him myself. It's refreshing. But you said he had a rat in there. And what is that? Is
Yes.
that his career, the wood rat? The yin
So the
yang
thing
wood rat?
with him that's fascinating, this guy, I don't know why he's in politics. He is a preacher. He is the
Mm.
chart of a preacher, a teacher, and it's kind of like I don't know. There's a lot to unpack with him. He also like Kash Patel is born on the day of a dragon. The dragon is the enemy of Trump's year of the dog.
Oh.
Okay, so the other thing about Vance is it's he he trumps Trump. And in his power, he has more of that than Trump does. It's just that I think he hasn't really come into it where he doesn't embody it. He doesn't exude power. So a lot of people don't see him as a president. And again, maybe it's because he's giving off a different kind of vibe, but the rat is his year. And that gives the dragon for his day like you were saying, there's a pragmatism and being very analytical, being very mentally sharp. So he kind of takes the dragon from being like pie in the sky, anything's possible kind of dreamer into focus and reality. The
Mm-hmm.
thing that's interesting is this very year, in January, he moved into a new luck cycle of a Yang fire rat. The thing that's so fascinating about this is challenging his own year of the rat. So this is movement. He is in movement, movement, movement for the next 10 years. This is not someone that stays in one place for long, almost like somebody that's a diplomat, somebody who's traveling a lot. Um, but the thing is, the horse is the enemy of the rat.
Oh.
Okay. So this is double hit for him. The thing is, if something were to happen to Trump, the caveat of would this be an Article 2? situation where they wipe everything out and begin anew, which I think many people would be happy to see happen. Or
What is,
would,
I'm not an
or
American, so what does an Article 2 mean?
That's basically where and I'm not obviously a politician or know anything about this stuff, but I know that what Article 2, Section something or other means is that basically they take the entire administration out and they build an entire new
Oh,
everything.
right,
Everybody loses their job. It's a
right.
Shakespearean end.
But it's
So
so, but it's still the same term time. It's 2 more years left, kind of thing.
I don't think this is going to survive this summer. That has been my forecast all along.
You don't think the administration and Trump's going to survive the summer, but if it doesn't survive, that means Trump stepped down, been, what is it, 25th Amendmented or whatever. So,
Yes.
yeah. Well, when I
But the
first
thing
looked at,
is,
yeah, sorry
it's
to
going to
interrupt, but
be
I think Vance
interesting
is,
because, yeah,
sorry, Vance is definitely set to step in. Whether he can hold the oval, but he's in a luck cycle, although it challenges the rat challenges the rat, right? His wood rat year is being challenged by the fire rat luck cycle. If I
yes.
understand that for 10 years, he still looks to me, at least he's going to get his turn up there.
Well, that's the caveat that I'm not sure about because I think that there is, with the conflict with the horse, challenging two spaces in his chart it's an overarching thing that could really do, it could be that one thing that shifts the mark. There's a lot shifting and moving this year in particular with his backing, his role in government, and the position he's playing. So again, it's that shift of roles. What role is he playing? And how is that tied in with his job in the government? Who has his back and who doesn't? So when you take that lens and you add a conflict that's doubled behind it, any of that kind of feels wobbly to me. So
Interesting.
that's where I think there is a chance that that could happen. But if it
Right.
didn't, that is where I would point my finger.
But on a practical note, because if Trump say steps aside, is forced to step aside, is ill or unalive somehow, any of these threats are possible in the next few months, even shorter term actually.
Hmm.
Then just it's the due process. Unless somehow Vance steps away from the vice presidency first, you see, then he just has to go up next. It's like that's what has to happen, doesn't it?
The whole, yeah, it is. It's an automatic. Um, it's going to be a very interesting next few months. We're coming into the time of fire. The snake is in May. We're in the time of the dragon right now. Very challenging for Trump. And we're going into, and also Pete Hegseth, Kash Patel. These people are, it's like there's so much opposition and challenge in April. And then May, the month of the snake, is going to be really, really difficult for this administration. And then we get into June, which is the month of the horse and the year of the horse. This is where everything from the year, if you want to know what your year is about, pay attention to what's going on in June. That's your
Uh,
Cliff Notes version, right? And then
that's amazing.
the sheep forms a semi-fire trio with the horse, just like the snake does. This whole thing is like an inferno.
Wow, because is that July is a sheep after we have the
Yeah,
horse? Okay,
the
and we've got lots
horse.
of fire, and of course we've got wood with no food in Chump's chart except for McDonald's, right? Otherwise, it doesn't get fed. So there's something going on there, that insatiable McDonald's craving. Um, one more thing, I had the weirdest dream. I think I put it on a video already, but I can't remember. I've only had a couple dreams of Trump. No, it's on my Substack, but I dream about the world events, usually plane crashes. It's very accurate, specifics like the nose going down and the people. I just do. But the dream with him I had recently, like 5 days, 8 days ago now, and it was so specific. He literally was telling me that there would be no U.S. presidency in the next election. And then he also gave me the elbow wink, wink, nod, nod. Like his spirit was saying, I'm just here to cause a fucking lot of chaos. But
Yeah, yeah.
I
And in
can't see how
some
that
ways,
can't be no presidency. There has to be, right?
Yeah, well, and the United States is about to go through a new luck cycle next year. So the United States is going through a huge, huge identity crisis. Not going to spin that one positive. And I do think that it's going to lead towards something that feels more like a renaissance, a reinvention, a rebuild, a reimagine. When we take the lens of the time that we're in of Aquarius age, right? To imagine what would the United States look like if it could be rebuilt. Is it time to redo the Constitution? Is it time to do this, reimagine and relook at all kinds of different things?
Yeah, well, that makes
Um,
sense, right? Because when Pluto
yeah.
traveled Aquarius in the 1700s, 1800s, that time frame was the actual building of the Constitution itself, not the Declaration of Independence. That was Pluto and Capricorn. But then the beginning of actually putting all the pieces together, the states joining and putting more and more together, like a big book, the big book of the rules, of how we do this country. So
Yeah.
the rules of the country, which is called the Constitution and all of its amendments, that book of rules is in a first time in 248 years where it could be rewritten.
It's fascinating. And I never have talked about Western astrology with Bazi astrology until this year. But this year, unlike any other time, I'm really seeing how there is a weaving of these narratives. And I've even said, it's if you remove even the word astrology, we're talking about the energies, right? These energies that we are collectively experiencing in our lives. Um, it's rich. So
Well, you said the United States will next year go into a luck cycle. Is that one of the 10-year luck cycles? And does it have any
yes.
penalties that we should be worried about?
It is, I've said, the interesting thing is the United States is born on the day of an ox, which isn't surprising, very hardworking, sturdy, industrious people. The ox is the enemy of the sheep,
Oh,
or one could say the sheep is the enemy of the ox. Um, and so I called it when we had this election happening, whoever won the election was going to come in like a wrecking ball. That's where the United States is. It is a time of great reclaiming and re-identifying with who we are as Americans. And so in 2027, we go into a time that is it's a monkey. And the monkey is all about how do we fix this? It's smart, it's thinking, it's inventive, it's problem solving. Um, and it's also, I think, going to feel like a revolution.
uh, well, does the sturdy ox mind the monkey?
No, no. And actually, we are born in the year of a monkey. So it is a lot of movement. It's a lot of action. There's a lot that's going to be happening for this country next year. And
Hmm.
maybe it is. It's a time to rebuild. I think that would actually be a cool thing. Take down the Lego tower and build it up new and better.
I think that the new generation of the Gen Z in particular and the younger versions of the Gen X's are the way that rebuild can happen. It is sorry if you're listening and you're a Fox News viewer, but I doubt you're watching my channel because I'm demonic because I'm not going to church and I'm doing astrology, but it's the Fox News boomer generation, right? Who is locked and loaded in very archaic and petrified thought patterns about the way the world works. And some of that is okay. I mean, because you were taught something or you imbibed a cultural normative that seemed fine in a certain era. But in this era, it's not true anymore. I just use an example because it's when it came to me. If you kind of grew up in the boomer era and you taught that, Israel has a right to exist, and you thought, oh yeah, and everybody had to find a place after the Holocaust, which is justifiable as a thought pattern, but you didn't know about the Nakba. right? Where 500 villages were destroyed, wells were poisoned, 15,000 Palestinians were slaughtered, and they were pushed off their own land in 1948. And you didn't ever know that because you didn't, because no one told you. But now we know that because now it's coming into the collective psyche after the Gaza situation. You could be excused for not knowing, but there's so much knowing about history right now that's in the collective sphere. And there's sort of like a petrification around ideology for a lot of boomers, and they're really resistant to changing their mind.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's going to be a very interesting chapter for the United States the next 10 years.
Yeah. Are you Gen
Where
X?
this,
Are you a Gen X girl?
I think so. I'm born
Yeah.
in 66.
You're Gen X. Yeah, okay, you get to be a
Yeah.
Gen X. I'm just the end of the boomers, 62.
Yep.
Well, Gen X is the greatest generation I think that there is. Like all my clients are Gen Xers. There's a funny meme that I saw, or funny video that my sister sent me about a Gen Xer talking about all the other generations but Gen X. It made me laugh, and
Oh,
I'll
wow.
send it to
No,
you.
actually, a lot of my clients are either Gen X or baby boomers. I have a lot of baby boomers.
Yeah, I don't have that many boomers compared to Gen X. Gen X is like the I don't know, the bell curve middle of my clientele, really. Yeah. Well, that was so much fun. I mean, I never go to the time I think I'm going to. I always say to my people when we're going to keep it to 40 to 45 minutes, and we always go over. But I am so utterly fascinated by your astrology.
Thank you.
That's how I found you. I was watching you talk about famous people's charts a year or more ago, and thought we got to hook up. We finally got it together. Obviously, you must be moving into your success cycle, because I'm hoping this does bring a lot of people to your channel. And
Thank you.
when I put it out, it will be in a collab mode. So when people watch it, they can go straight to subscribe to your channel as well.
Yeah, yeah, Dabney did that. And I was gonna ask if you just as a thank you gift, since I can't send you flowers or take you to lunch.
No, no, take me to lunch when I'm in your town. We're in the United States. Absolutely. It's my pleasure and my excitement to learn more and share new knowledge with my platform for real. And
Thank you.
this is very fascinating. And it was just totally up my alley. Really inspired me before dinner, actually.
Oh,
So
good.
thank you, Lydia. I will let you know
You're
when
welcome, Lori. And
this
if you
will,
ever want to do another one down the road,
oh,
depending
I
on
would love to.
how
I would love
all
to. I
this
mean,
stuff goes.
Taylor Northcutt, the face reader, and I've got like we want to hook up again, certainly with you. And the other thing is that I was going to say something about getting this thing out. It'll be a standalone. It's long enough that it won't be patched into mine, so you'll have your own little slot just for us.
Okay,
Okay, my
fun.
dear. All right, I'm going to hang up the recording right now to get the stir fry going. So otherwise, I'd
Yes,
privately say goodbye to you. But
thank
I'll
you.
be in touch by email shortly with the date of the video. And what a pleasure! And people can find
Thank
you
you.
at Fire Horse Wisdom on YouTube, and I will have links
And
below
yep, and I have Substack too.
and Substack. So there will be links below to Substack, her YouTube channel and website, and anything you need to know about what she's up to. Brilliant, brilliant conversation. I really appreciated it.
Thank you so much, Lori. Be
You're
well.
welcome. Have a great night, Lydia. Take
You
care.
too.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Lunatic astrology.